Good morning, Purdue University. I guess I should say good afternoon now. It's the top of the hour here, noon on a Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. Last Friday before Thanksgiving break. This is Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Geely. Thanks for everybody for tuning in this afternoon. You can follow the show on Matt_Geely on Twitter or Snapchat. That's where you would find our pre-show host meeting that I had on my walk here to the turntable today. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can direct those to nextptwins@gmail.com. I'll be listening and reading your emails as the show goes on and be willing to respond to any questions any of you students out there might have. Hope everybody's enjoying this fall day. It's a little chilly outside, but we made it to a Friday, so it can't be too bad. Excited to be joined here today in the turntable by Daniel Goldberg. Daniel, he comes to us. He's another member of the Purdue Athletic Communications Office, and he works alongside me. He's from Maryland, and he had the cool opportunity this summer to work with the Washington Redskins and that NFL organization. So happy to be joined here by Daniel. Daniel, how are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me. Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. So let's get right into what you did with the Redskins, because that was a really neat opportunity. How did you get in touch with them and get that internship this summer?
Yeah, so like you said, I was an intern for training camp this summer for the Washington Redskins. I went to an NFL meet and greet, the NFL Combines here in Indianapolis. So I had the opportunity to go and meet with a couple of teams. But, being from Maryland, the Redskins have always been the hometown favorite. So, they were number one on my list, and landed the opportunity and took it off from there.
That's awesome. And you're a sophomore here at Purdue currently, right, Daniel?
I am. Yep.
So while with the Redskins, what was your specific job that you did for them on a daily basis?
So I was a PR, public relations and communications intern. So a lot of the things that I did was working with the players and coaches, running press conferences, interviews, transcribing those for the media. Also, working with the media, there's stuff that they can do and cannot do. The NFL is very strict about that.
Yeah.
So, looking over that and just doing whatever the bosses needed to be done to get ready for preseason and start of the regular season.
That's really cool. I'm very jealous of that situation. So you said that you worked with the media and the players. Were there any specific players that you seemed to build a relationship with, or I guess guys who you're like, wow, that was a really cool guy I met?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One being, former Boilermaker Ryan Kerrigan.
Yeah.
The man, really nice, down-to-earth guy. I had the opportunity to sit down a couple times with him and talk about his experiences in the office and back on the field. But he's just a great guy overall. Loves going over to fans, signing autographs. The other guy that comes to mind is Nico Marley. He did not make the roster, unfortunately. Grandson of Bob Marley.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Very interesting. Had to take him a couple times to certain interviews, and just on the way, being able to ask him questions and seeing where he comes from, it was really, really cool.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, Ryan Kerrigan, Purdue legend. I know you walk around our office and talk to our bosses, the guys who work with Purdue sports and Purdue football more specifically, and they always talked about how much they loved Ryan when he was here as a student athlete for Purdue. And kind of continuing on with this Redskins-themed question lining, so any specific thing that you saw that you were like, that's only NFL players would get away with this or do this or drive this car, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So this is pretty funny, I think. After practice, after walkthrough every day, all the players would go back in the locker room. Some would come back out and go in the ice bath. Mm-hmm. Whether it was Josh Norman or Terrell Pryor bringing out a speaker, mm-hmm. Just blasting music, jumping around the ice bath. Every once in a while, Kirk Cousins would go in there and show off some moves. But it was really down to earth, and it shows that, they're working hard on the field, but they're also having fun.
That's an interesting point that you make, because you look at these NFL players, and a lot of times they come off as only there for the paycheck, just clocking in, clocking out. And then I can understand where when you get behind the scenes, you understand that teammate is a real thing in the NFL. No matter how much you make compared to the guy next to you, there's a bond there. You guys are grinding every day.
Yep.
Wow, absolutely. That's interesting. So did you get fed by the Redskins? Here on the show, we like to talk about food a lot.
Love food.
Yeah.
There's a couple times that Mr. Snyder, Daniel Snyder, let the communications department go out to dinner on his tab. So there's a bunch of barbecue buffets, or there's one time it was a very stressful Thursday or Friday afternoon. A lot of media concerns. We finally got off that day. Everybody went back to the hotel, got changed, and we got an email from our communications boss saying, "Hey, Mr. Snyder wants to take us out for our hard work."
Nice.
Went to this very nice steakhouse, blanking on the name, but yeah, it was really fun. It was a bonding experience with the other interns and really get to know them. So while eating some delicious Richmond, Virginia food.
No kidding. I have to imagine anytime you see Daniel Snyder in your email subject box, that's probably one of those emails you click on every time. So kind of transitioning out of what you did this summer and kind of just looking at Purdue sports and NFL as a whole, I guess I'd like to know where you see the NFL, like where we're at right now in the NFL season. Who are two teams that stick out to you as like your Super Bowl prediction?
I mean, obviously in the NFC, it's a wild card to see who goes the farthest. But the team I really like in the NFC right now are the Saints, starting 0-2 on a huge win streak, led behind another former Boilermaker, Drew Brees.
Yep.
On the other side in the AFC, I really like the Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw what they did last night against the Titans.
Yeah, nice win last night against Tennessee.
But if you're looking for a Super Bowl prediction, I got to go Saints over Steelers.
Saints over Steelers. You know, Saints are an interesting team to me because, like you said, they start out 0-2. They have a lot of young guys. And I felt like those first two games, it took a while for them to figure it out. And when you have a leader and a quarterback like Drew Brees, you'd think that over time, I mean, the offense is always going to be there. It's always a question, does the defense show up enough, and can they stop him enough for Drew Brees to score more points? And you're right. So far, they've been really able to do that. And I'm not sure if the Eagles are for real yet. They got some tough games coming up that we'll
have
see
to
more.
wait and see coming out of their bye week what they have in store.
Yeah, I mean, you still got to play. They got Dallas twice, and even though they don't have Zeke, you still have to imagine that that's a tough game, especially at Dallas. And definitely the favorites to win that division, but I agree. Second-year quarterback in Carson Wentz, he's going to be great. I'm just not sure he's there yet.
And also, speaking of young quarterbacks, watch out for the Rams.
You like
really
that Jared Goff?
Really coming out hot.
I know. That's another team where it's like, are they for real yet? It's hard to tell. How many times did they have to beat good opponents before you're like, I mean, you think Rams and you think not good.
Right. Growing up, they were always on the bottom half of the list, but I love seeing these teams come up in the win column.
Yep, and now college, we got Purdue football coming up this weekend. They had a tough loss last weekend at Northwestern. Didn't really get the offense going. We'll talk about that more later in the show after we get done here with Daniel. But from you, before you go, I'd like to know your prediction for this weekend as we go to Iowa. It's win or no bowl. We got to win the last two. What do you think?
I think there's a big urge to win this one. I know Iowa's coming off a hot victory a couple weeks ago against Ohio State. But watch for our offense to really come out and perform. I think with the feel that we could be 5-6 coming home against IU to try to make a bowl game. I think watch out for the Boilermakers. I said 21-20 Boilermakers over the Hawkeyes.
I love that. And the way you said that, it gave me chills because there's nothing this fan base would want more than an opportunity to come home, win the bucket, and make a bowl. But in order to do that, you got to take care of business at Iowa. And I agree with you. I think this offense is begging. I think they're sick and tired of hearing how bad they are, and they've dealt with injuries all year. Coach Braum, it shouldn't be against him. He's an offensive genius. There's no doubt about it. We see it in practice every single day, and it's just a matter of executing on the field what they do in practice. And the defense is going to be there. They always are. Hopefully Richie's healthy and he plays. Hopefully Sindelar is healthy and he plays. I know both of those guys have been in the injury report this week, but Iowa's a good team. They're for real. It'll be interesting to see if we can go shock the world.
Right, and I think we're really better than our record shows. I think we've had a couple close games here and there that could have swung either way. Mm-hmm. But look for an edge for the Boilermakers as we wrap up the season.
All right, and last question for you. I got to get in a little Purdue hoops here before we go because this basketball program is exciting right now. The men's team go to Marquette. You get the win on the road, a tough win, a senior-laden win where you just looked at your core guys and you said, go out and win the ball game, and they were very impressive. So for you, I want to know which player has impressed you the most so far?
Yeah, well, you could go easy with the Carson Edwards, Vincent Edwards, but in my mind, I'm a huge Matt Harms fan.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this walking into the studio, but I think just the 7-3 factor of a guy that can put the ball on the floor and shoot the elbow jumper, I think that's very lethal in the game of college basketball today.
Yeah, Matt Harms has been surprising to me too because I didn't know how good of a defender he was. The kid can move. Like, he is graceful on his feet.
Block shot, but then also being able to block the shot and run the floor.
Exactly.
It's very you get Carson out there on the attack and you got Harms trailing behind. Watch out defense in that case.
Exactly. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today on Next Point Wins. We're definitely going to have you back on here before the basketball season comes to an end. Hopefully, we'll come back on maybe for a little Big Ten championship celebration or
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
something. Absolutely. That's Daniel Goldberg. He is a sophomore here, intern for the Redskins over the summer, and currently an intern for Purdue Athletic Communications. We're going to step aside here for a quick moment. When we come back, we got Tiger Woods, we have Aaron Rodgers, we have unsportsmanlike conduct, just all the trigger words I can think of. We got a fun show. Happy Friday, everybody. This is Next Point Wins. My name is Matthew Geely, WCCR Purdue. Anything that you miss, you can catch on Next Point Wins. On YouTube, you can subscribe to the podcast. You can go to SoundCloud, Snapchat, Facebook. I'm everywhere, guys. Just search Next Point Wins. Search Matt Geely. You will find everything you need. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back here. Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Geely. Special thanks one more time for Daniel Goldberg. He was fantastic. It was exciting to hear and interesting to hear about. I mean, what an experience for him this weekend. Not this weekend. Last summer, to be able to work for the Redskins in an NFL organization like that. I mean, as a sophomore, the kid amazes me. He's got a talented future. I mean, around the office, you can tell he's one of the glue guys. We have about 5 core workers. Hannah Jones, we got Casey, me, Daniel, and then Brett, who we've already met on the show. I mean, that's our core of the Athletic Communications Office, and we've already had Brett on and Daniel on. Hopefully we can get Hannah and Casey to come on, and we'll get some female perspective on everything Purdue, because they're equally as passionate, if not more passionate, than I am about everything going around here at Purdue University. But once again, thanks, Daniel. It was a lot of fun. It was really nice of him to come in this afternoon, because he's jumping on a flight here in a little while to head back home for Thanksgiving, back home to Maryland. So really nice of him to make some time out of his schedule to come join us. So just to recap, Steelers beat the Titans last night. Antonio Brown with 3 touchdowns, and Tennessee is a team that kind of they're interesting to me, because one week they could look really, really good, and the next week they look horrible. And I can't even imagine being a fan of a team like that. At least with the Bears, they look horrible just about every week, so at least I know what to expect. But not the greatest of efforts from Tennessee last night. And on the other side, Pittsburgh, their offense was extremely impressive. Ben Roethlisberger, 30 of 45, 299 yards, 4 TDs, no picks. They didn't run the ball much. They didn't need to. I mean, they can go to the air as much as they want. How do you not, I know it's hard to cover Antonio Brown, but how do you not limit him, especially in the red zone? 10 receptions, 144 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day. Just crazy. And I'm curious to know what you guys thought of the Sky Cam last night. I had read that they were going to debut it, and the idea was that a lot of people liked it back when they had that foggy game. I think it was a Pittsburgh game. A lot of people enjoyed it when it was they had to go to it just so you could so you could see the game back when the weather was so bad. But they said they were gonna keep it out of the red zone. So when they got into the red zone, they went back to the normal angle, and they were trying to. They really wanted to make sure when Pittsburgh was on offense, they wanted to make sure they were far enough away to where you could see Antonio Brown in the screen because, well, I'm glad they did that because he had 10 receptions last night, the leading receiver on either side, and it would have been awkward if Ben Roethlisberger is throwing out to an area where we have yet to see a wide receiver out there and don't even know that Antonio Brown exists. So that's where, they got to work on finding a way to get far enough away to where you can still see the whole game. But I thought the angle was interesting. I wasn't against it. I know there's a lot of people who didn't like it. A lot of people calling it unwatchable. I wouldn't agree with that. I know depth perception is really hard, so knowing where the first down is and how many yards they're gaining on a play, especially on a pass play, is tough from that angle. But I thought that the play-by-play and the color last night did a great job helping, giving you an idea of how many yards each play was, how many yards to the first down. You could still see the yellow line, but that was even tough on a lot of plays. I thought that from an offensive line and defensive line standpoint, it was fantastic. Really cool way to watch those guys battle up front. And I know for the casual football fan, the offensive line and the defensive line means absolutely nothing to you, and that's fine. But for some of us who either played those positions or just enjoy watching those positions, it's safe to say that was a really, really cool angle to watch the game from. Now, that being said as well, I thought that as a quarterback, if anybody who played quarterback or enjoys watching the quarterback position, to see multiple times Collinsworth was talking about throwing lanes, and first he was like throwing around a lot of words that I don't even know, and I consider myself a pretty in-depth student of the football game. But he was throwing lanes I'm obviously aware of, but then he was trying to get all fancy. But what he was trying to get at, and what I understood, was that he was interested in seeing, you could see from the quarterback's perspective on where he was throwing the ball. And it's amazing how much, you wonder how somebody could, who's a professional, could throw so many picks. Well, first off, Marcus Mariota kind of gave you a good idea of that last night, as he had a rough game, 1 TD, 4 interceptions. But you'd see some of his throws, and I would have thrown it to a couple of those that got picked off, I would have thrown it where he was throwing it, and it's a tough position. You wonder why they get paid the big bucks and why it takes a good quarterback to win games. It's because, it's a hard position to play, and I thought that the camera angle helped bring that to light and give you a cool look at how that was going. So I get change. People hate change. It takes a while for people to get used to it, but I think that they stick with this, even if it's just on Thursday nights. It made the Thursday night game a little bit more watchable to me, even though it was 40-17. I missed the first quarter. It was 10-7 Pittsburgh, but then I caught the beatdown from then on. So I was entertained. I was entertained by Antonio Brown. I was entertained by the Pittsburgh offense, and I was entertained by the camera angle. So I can understand why they did it, and I hope they continue to do it in the future, because for every person who was on Twitter saying how much they hated it, there was somebody like me at home who didn't mind it at all. Not to the point where they needed to tweet out, "Oh my gosh, I love this so much," but just like, "Wow, this is different." And because of that, it's watchable, and it's only going to get better. It takes time for whoever's working that robot, I can't imagine how nerve-wracking of a job that is, to be the one patrolling that robot around with a remote control. It can't be easy. It absolutely can't be easy. And as they get more reps doing it and get better at it, like anything else, it's going to get better. So good on you, NBC, for trying it. I hope you bring it back, because personally I thought it was watchable. I really did. Other news and notes, let's go to the MLB. MVP awards were handed out, and MVP for the AL goes to Jose Altuve. NL goes to Giancarlo Stanton. I thought both of them were very deserving. That's who I would have picked for the two awards. That being said, Cy Young was a little bit more up in question, and we had a little difference of opinion amongst writers and voters on who should be considered the Cy Young winners. And NL went to Max Scherzer. Second place was Clayton Kershaw, then Steven Strasburg, then Zach Greinke. Those were your top 4. From the AL side, Corey Kluber won the Cy Young. Chris Sale came in second place. And then distant third was Luis Severino and Carlos Carrasco of the Indians. I thought Sale had a good shot of challenging Kluber for the AL. On the other side, Scherzer, 100% deserved the NL. I can get the Clayton Kershaw, but really that wasn't even close. It was 201 to 126. And, I mean, AL wasn't really close either, 204 to 126. So I thought Sale had a great year. He started out really, really, really good, and then he kind of tailed off at the end and kind of fizzled out. So those were your AL and NL Cy Young. And then Rookie of the Year went to Aaron Judge. No doubt, no-brainer there. And then NL Cody Bellinger, no doubt, no-brainer there. No one else even got first place votes besides those two, and they shouldn't. AL Manager of the Year was Paul Molitor. All right, here we go. Here's the pop quiz question of the day, and I want you to say it out loud. If you're listening with buddies around campus, if you are in class right now listening to me while you should be paying attention, first off, I appreciate you. Thanks for the dedication to the show. But now it's going to backfire because I want you to say verbally out loud the answer to this trivia question if you know it. Paul Molitor won AL Manager of the Year. So you know he coached in the AL. What team did he coach for? I'm going to give you 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Paul Molitor, AL Manager of the Year. If you said my Minnesota Twins, you are correct. And I'm pretty confident in saying this, for the 90% of you who got it wrong, isn't that sad? It's not sad for you to get it wrong. I'm not belittling you. I don't even know if it would have taken me a good amount of time. I think I would have eventually got there, but I don't think I would have gotten on the first guess. But it would have taken me a while to get that one. And that just adds to the embarrassment of the MLB and the lack of interest that we have with this league right now. And if you're not physically at a game, it's really hard to sit down and watch one. And if you're not watching your favorite team, are you tuning in on Sunday night and Monday Night Baseball for a game between the Twins and the Indians? If you don't live in either of those markets or really have a rooting interest for either of those teams, it's just something they have to look at. And unfortunately, we're going to play this game one more time because I like it so much. NL Manager of the Year. So you know they're in the National League. The name is Torey Lovullo. That is your Manager of the Year. 10 seconds. Out loud, I want you to guess which team Torey Lovullo coaches for. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now, for everybody out there who said my Arizona Diamondbacks, you are correct. For the 98% of you who said any other team in the NL, I understand where you're coming from. I'm not going to repeat what I just said about the AL because it's the same thing for the NL. For the NL, MLB, you have a problem. There is a problem with this league that needs to be fixed. And I'm usually one on this show to give you suggestions for how I would fix it. And I don't even know if I have an answer for this one because I don't want to tarnish the game. I get the tradition. I get the old timers. I get it. I understand it all. And I, for the most part, respect it and agree with it. But something's got to change. And it starts with getting some celebrities, some big personalities. You got Aaron Judge. You got Bellinger. You got Kershaw. Guys like that are Mike Trout, Bryce Harper. Those are the two biggest, especially Bryce Harper because he's so more outgoing. You need more Bryce Harpers in this game. You need blue collar. You need down and dirty dudes who just want to go out and play ball. Jose Altuve is a great guy. Everybody who talks about Jose Altuve talks about how nice of a human being he is, but he's not flashy. He's not exciting, and that's fine. He's the best player in the MLB, no doubt about it in my mind. He is number one, the best. But he's soft-spoken. He's humble, and that's not a bad thing. Those aren't bad qualities, but for ratings, it kind of is. He plays the game the right way, but I don't know if is he must watch TV? I don't know. Maybe. I guess you would put him in the category of must watch. You'd put Bryce Harper in that category. You put Mike Trout in that category. You put Clayton Kershaw in that category, but he only throws every five games. So those other 4, irrelevant. But you're definitely going to put him in that category. So there's guys who you search out to watch, but we need more of them. Aaron Judge is exciting because he hits bombs. But if he's not a Yankee, do we care as much? I don't know. I don't know. This is just I didn't plan on going off on this tangent, but here we are. So that's our first and probably our last edition of Who Coaches This Team in the MLB. If you won both of them, you get a prize. What's that prize? I don't know. Write your senator. He'll give you the answer to that question. But those are your awards for the MLB postseason giveaway. Want to talk about, I watched it this morning. Thankfully, my first class today got canceled, so I didn't have to be going to class until 10 a.m. this morning. So I was able to get up at 9 and watch the final hour of Mike and Mike in the Morning. And I thought it was well done. I don't know what the over-under is. I don't know how many times they were going to say thanks, but they said it probably close to 300 times, but that's fine. They had a lot of people to thank and a lot of people who deserved to be thanked on that show. There's something there between those two. I don't know what it is, and we may never know, but something tells me that down the road we'll have a 30 for 30 about it. Another 30 for 30 opportunity. I love 30 for 30s. I think they're fun to watch, but I don't watch every 30 for 30 that comes on. I only watch ones that really interest me. I know there's some people out there who are like religiously watching every one, and that's fine. If you're that person and you enjoy them, cool. That's not me. I like a lot. Actually, I really, really like the promos for 30 for 30s. I like leading up to it, the commercials that ESPN runs about the 30 for 30. I think those are awesome. I like when they pose the questions. So Mike and Mike 30 for 30. It'd be something like, really dramatic music, and it'll be Mike number 1. Which I wonder if they know when they made the show, when they said Mike and Mike, which Mike came first? Which one did they have in mind for the first Mike? My guess, I've always looked at it as it was Mike Greeny and then Mike Golick. So Golick is the former offensive lineman from Notre Dame. If you didn't know that, you must never have seen the show because he mentions it almost every day. Let's get this out of the way right now. I'm not a Mike and Mike hater. I don't love him though. My dad used to play him on the radio when I went on our drive to grade school a little bit, and they had a couple of things that were funny, especially around Super Bowl time. They were pretty good, but in general, never got into them. I can't say I've ever watched an entire show. I've seen clips, I've seen interviews, but never sat down and watched all 3 hours that they do. Opposite to what I do at Dan Patrick every day, where I listen or watch every minute of the 3 hours, plus their app rap content and their YouTube content and their side. I mean, I probably consume close to 4 hours of Dan Patrick every day because I'm obsessed. I'm not like that with Mike and Mike. I'm not a Mike and Mike hater. I thought they were great for their audience. They were one of the first to really do it the way they did it, and they were pioneers for the business. No question about it. But I didn't enjoy a lot of what they did, especially down towards the end. It was a lot of Notre Dame talk, which if you're not a Notre Dame fan, I mean, you pretty much just closed out a great majority of your audience. And they always like to talk about Golick back when he played in the NFL, and I get it, but it's also like hang it up and let's move on. That all being said, I thought their show today was great, but there's something there. There is something wrong. There's something that went down between those two because you could feel it. You could just tell watching it. It was awkward. Greeny was emotional, especially in the last segment. They brought their families up on stage, both of their families, and they said thank you. Greeny was emotional. Golick looked like he won the Super Bowl. He was so excited and happy. I don't know if that's just their personalities and the way they deal with situations like this, but it just seemed there's something there. Something happened, and the fact that they're both like Golick, which one is, I think Golick is like next week. He's starting his new show. Greeny's taking some time off, I think a month or so, and then he's going to start his new show. So the fact that Golick is just turning around right away to start a new show, I don't know if it came from management. I don't know if it came between the two of them or something happened between the two of them. But something tells me that not everybody was on board with canceling this, and somebody told somebody that it needs to stop. If I had to bet, if I had to guess, and I know absolutely nothing about the situation, but if I had to guess, I would say that Greeny wanted to continue the show, and either Golick, management, or a combination of the two said that we're done. 18 years is a long time, and it's impressive that they stuck around as long as they did. And sports radio lost one of the biggest this week, and it was touching to watch their final show, but it was a little awkward. I'm going to be honest with you, it was a little awkward. But Mike and Mike, hang it up. 18 years of radio. Last episode this morning. Go to YouTube, watch that final like segment. If you didn't get to see it this morning, it's worth a watch. Maybe you'll get the same vibe I'm getting, or maybe I'm completely off bases. I guess I don't really know, but it just didn't sit well with me. It didn't feel right the way that all went down. Next up on my agenda here, I want to talk about Tiger Woods, because you're not going to find a bigger Tiger Woods fan than me. I think Tiger Woods is fantastic for golf. We talked about Tiger Woods multiple times on this show, and it's worth mentioning once again. There was a report out that he was on the range and he was hitting his irons as far as he ever has, and he's driving the ball really far, and he's not even trying to swing hard, and he's still hitting the ball a mile. And Ricky Fowler's like, he's out driving me, and it doesn't even seem like he's swinging that hard. Well, I don't really know what that means. Obviously, as we all know, you can be an all-star at the range and then hit the course and look like pathetic. There's definitely range all-stars out there, and then they never play because they know it's not going to go well, or they go out there and play, and it's like, well, what happened between the 5-minute walk from the range to the course? But it still excites me. I'm jacked up to get Tiger Woods back on that course. But I've said on this show multiple times, and I'm going to reiterate it today because it's still relevant. This man has had multiple back surgeries. And if you talk to people who have the surgeries that he's had, and more than one of them, it's amazing he can walk comfortably. It's amazing he can jog and run comfortably. But to be able to go out and swing and play 4 days of golf, I'll believe it when I see it, and I hope I see it. But let's keep the expectations low. Let's see him put together a few solid rounds, a few solid tournaments. Can he play, take a week off, and then go out and play again? Or is it play, take a month off, and then play again? Like, how long does it take him to recover from a tournament? And can he finish a tournament? Let's start there. Actually, let's start even, can he finish a hole? Can he finish a round? Can he finish a tournament? Can he play back-to-back? Can he compete in a major? That's the steps, and we're on step number 1 of that process. Step number 2. Step number 1 was getting out and swinging. He's swinging. And from everything I read, I don't know if it's true or not, but from what I read, he's comfortable swinging a golf club. That's a start. And a lot of people thought that would never happen again. So he's already exceeded some people's expectations. Next up, can he play a hole and can he play a round? We'll find that out in a couple weeks. He's set to be in a very prestigious event that I can't think of the name of right now, but it's really not that important. It's probably going to have crazy amount of viewers because it's Tiger Woods, and that's why golf needs Tiger Woods, because no matter if he's got it still or not, he's still important. He's big time. He's Tiger Woods. So let's pump the brakes on it all, but let's just remember that, Tiger Woods may be back, or he may have a bad back. So we'll find out. Speaking of people who are injured, might be coming back too soon, welcome to the stage, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has decided that he is, well, first off, he's jogging. He's taking snaps. And I think somebody saw him throw a towel, which you want to talk about breaking news. I don't know how the mothership didn't run with this on the bottom ticker all day this week, but Aaron Rodgers threw a towel, everybody, That's important. That's a big step for Aaron Rodgers. And there's talk, there's whispers, I'm hearing murmurs that he may be able to come back this year. So that brings up the question, and I don't know if that rumor was made up. That way this question could be proposed, but we're still going to ask the question anyways. If you were the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, do you bring him back earlier than expected this year? Well, there's a lot that goes into that. Number one, where are they in the division? Where are they in the standings? Number two, and most importantly, is he 100% healthy? If he is 100% healthy and he wants to play and he's cleared by the doctors, let him play. Now, he's on record saying he wants to play until he's 40. Well, in order to do that, you can't pull a Tony Romo and come back too soon and break the same bone 3 times. So, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I want to be certain that I'm healthy, completely healthy. And then if I am, and my team needs me and I want to play, who am I to stop him? Who is anybody to stop him? If he wants to play, let him play. And I'm pretty sure he probably wants to play as soon as he's cleared. It'll be interesting to see if that's this year or next year. If I'm a Packer fan, I would look at my team and, I know the NFC is up for grabs, but with Aaron Rodgers, is my team good enough to beat Minnesota, New Orleans, Philadelphia? I don't know. I don't know if I can say that. And that's just in the NFC. Can I beat Pittsburgh? Can I beat the Rams? Can I beat the Patriots? Man, I don't know. The Falcons. I even forgot about the Falcons. That's a lot of good teams. So if I'm not there yet, might as well not play him. Might as well save him for next year. That's just my opinion, but that's what I'm going to give you. Speaking of the NFL and people that are hurt, let's transition into hurt egos, because we have 2 of the biggest egos on this planet, and they are hurting each other, and it's a national story in sports media, and I don't know if it should be or not, but when we have 2 rich guys fighting, for some reason that just brings out the best in people, and that brings us as a sports community together. Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell are catfighting to the max right now. And you know what? I wasn't going to throw this in here for unsportsmanlike conduct, but it definitely is, because these 2 men need to just go take a bath in their money or something and just relax. Unsportsmanlike conduct.
And now, on unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15, unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's a horrible call!
The sad part about this feud is, I don't even know what they're fighting about. I don't know what the problem is. Well, I know a part of the problem. The first part of the problem is Jerry Jones got his ego crushed when he lost his baby, his little boy, Ezekiel Elliott, to suspension by Goodell. So no matter what Jerry Jones says, that's where this is all stemming from. And reports say Jerry Jones is firing back and he wants Goodell out. Then you got Goodell on the other side who wants a private jet and like $30 million in his next contract. You got half the owners who hate Jerry Jones. You have half the owners who enjoy Jerry Jones and like him. Then you got another portion who hate Roger Goodell. Then you got a side that like Roger Goodell, but there's a side who like Jerry Jones and like Roger Goodell, and then there's a side who hates everybody. It's a mess, and for some reason, we care. I don't even know if we care, if we were just looking for a story right now, because the NFL is just boring. The NFL is boring at the moment, and it's not their fault. It's partially their fault because we had too much of this political stuff at the beginning of the year, and it turned people away. But now, the part that's not their fault is they've lost so many players who are A-list stars, who are must-watch TV, the guys who the MLB are looking for. NFL has plenty of them, and a lot of them are out hurt right now. So that does not help. But this is not going to help either, because nothing that us normal folk, us common people hate more than 2 absurdly rich, immature people fighting. And that's exactly what these 2 guys are doing. I mean, what's wrong? I mean, besides your egos, what is the problem? Nobody knows. I don't even know if the 2 of them know. I think they just both like to see themselves in the media and in the news, and so they're going to continue this. But Goodell, I think there's a good chance he gets re-signed. I wouldn't call it a great chance, but I think that it's on the side of him getting re-signed. Jerry Jones is not going anywhere, no matter how much the rest of the owners want him out. He is one of the top owners in the NFL, and he is not giving up his beloved Cowboys for nobody. And it's going to take an army to get him out of the NFL. So you might as well just put that aside. But boy, I tell you what, this story is just so annoying. Just quit it, both of you. And if somebody's ego is hurt more than the other, Dirty Randy, what is that? That's a you problem.
Not my problem, your problem, not my problem.
It is. That is their problem. That has nothing to do with any of us, and nobody should care. Until I find a good reason to care, I'm just going to act like this story doesn't exist because it's so annoying. Other unsportsmanlike conducts I want to get to, just about 15 minutes left in the show. You're listening to Next Point Wins if you're just joining us. My name is Matthew Geely. Follow me on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Follow the podcast on YouTube and SoundCloud. That's where you'll find all the information throughout the week about the show. So feel free to come talk to me and hang out with me then. Unsportsmanlike conducts, other ones I want to get to, the whole UCLA three-player shoplifting, one being the Ball brother. 3 freshmen were at a Louis Vuitton store in China, and they stole a bunch of stuff, sunglasses and bags and stuff, and it sounds like a pretty good amount of money was taken as they went around to 3 different stores. These kids are immature. They've been suspended indefinitely. They're kids, but they're young men. I mean, no doubt about it. So it was stupid. They made a stupid mistake. I don't think it should be the end of their college career. I understand the suspension, but look for them to all be back on the team before long. It was an unfortunate situation. We all know my stance on the Ball family, and I think they're a waste of time as a whole, as a family. But I don't think this young man deserves to be treated any differently than any other college player would be treated in this situation. So they stole. It was wrong. I mean, they were held hostage in China. They finally got out, and now they're suspended. Look for them to be back on the UCLA roster soon. Probably sooner rather than later. Second, and this one was interesting to me, Buffalo Bills bench Tyrod Taylor for Nathan Peterman. Unsportsmanlike conduct goes to the Bills. I don't know why you feel the need to bench Tyrod. Has he been great? No. Is he the one giving up 50 points to the Saints? No, it's not his fault. So I don't know. I don't get that move. I don't think Nathan Peterman is any better. And we could have played. I should have prefaced this with, since we did who manages this MLB team, I could have done which team does Nathan Peterman play for, but I didn't do that. I could have, definitely, because I didn't know this guy existed. And like I said, I consider myself a pretty obsessed sports fan. Didn't know Nathan Peterman was a human being, but he's gonna get the job. He gets the reins of this Buffalo Bills wagon. Will be interesting to see how they do with that. Unsportsmanlike kind of goes to the Bills though, because Tyrod Taylor is not the problem. The problem is that defense. The problem is the D coordinator. That's where your attention should be turned to. Tyrod Taylor takes the abuse for their defense, and that's not fair. And then last but not least, this is really, really funny to me. There's a video out. You guys can find it just about anywhere. Just YouTube, high school football pig trailer. It's hysterical. So this team comes out, their offensive line, their defensive line. This is before the game. Somebody drives out a pig trailer, just a big looking, like what you would see horses in, out onto the track of, you know how high school's track surrounds the field? Well, they drive this truck with this trailer on the back, and it's bumping up and down and shaking and going crazy, and they drive down the track, and then somebody gets out of the front seat and like slowly walks to the back, and it's hard to tell. The cheerleaders are like staying off to the side, like kind of clapping, but like not really fired up and kind of confused. I don't know if it was the first time this happened or what. It was super, super weird. It was so uncomfortable. So this coach walks back to the back of the trailer, and he opens the hitch, and then you just see about 15 or 20 big high school linemen, just big kids, come running out, and they run about 10 yards down the track, and then they stop, and they're all kind of jumping up and down, but they're not going like overly crazy, and then it's just done. And it's just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It's so dumb. It doesn't make a second of sense to me. Nothing. I don't get it at all. And the idea was there, and I get that. Execution, horrible. Good planning, bad execution. These kids should have ran out and ran to their teammates. They should have gotten to a mosh and started getting. They just all ran out, and it was and then it was kind of okay, now what? Super weird, very uncomfortable, unsportsmanlike conduct to whoever decided this was going to be a good idea. It's trending, and you made social media, but it's not for good. I mean, people are making fun of you, and rightfully so. You deserved every second of that. Unsportsmanlike conduct to the pig trailer high school football players. And who wants to sit in a pig trailer? Disgusting. It must have been I don't want to judge, but it had to have been a small school out in the farm or something. I don't know. It just seems like something an Indiana high school would do, but it wasn't executed very well. Last bit of news before we close up shop here. 13 minutes left in the program. Wanted to get to this before we go because I had mentioned last week on the pre-show meeting and during the show that we had our Carry Radio show host meeting this week. It's where they talk about everything that's going on in the club. Carry Club's been great to me, giving me this platform to do my show live for you students and also record it to put on my podcast later. They do ratings, and we have a tracker. So if everybody who listens live, you click on the Tuned In app, and or you listen online, do tunedin.com. Well, we can track how many people are on Tuned In. So that's how I get these numbers each week on how well we're doing, and it's up on my screen right now. I don't usually look at it because it kind of psychs me out because it'll go up and down and jump as I'm talking about different things, and I don't want that to steer me to and from different topics because I like to be as transparent on this show as I possibly can, and because of that, I'm just going to be me and stay true to myself, and I've tried to do that for the most part. Got a lot of guys working hard in the back, the Brainy Bunch, and you guys listening at home. It's a we thing that we do here, and it's crazy how many of you tune in every week to listen to me make a fool of myself and have some fun, and hopefully you get a little bit of sports conversation and sports talk to use around the water cooler or at the co-rec and throughout your week that maybe you got from this show. Hopefully it's a little educational but also a lot of fun. I know I have a lot of fun putting it on every week, and we had our latest rankings, and since this show has come on, we've been number one, and that says a lot, and it's not taken for granted by me. I try to prepare each week. Rankings aren't really important for me, as I've mentioned before. The main reason for doing this show for me has been to give me a chance to learn how to do this and hands-on experience. I'm running the soundboard. I'm recording it. I'm uploading on YouTube later. Now we got video, so we got a simulcast going on. I got your emails, your tweets popping up. There's a lot going on here, and I get a lot of help from other people, but it's nice to know that hard work pays off, and we were ranked once again number one. So that's a round of applause for you guys for continuing to listen to me every single week, and I appreciate it. 1.4, we just keep going up. I know we're going to hit a ceiling here sooner or later, especially with a noon show. I know a lot of you students are in class, and you're listening later on the podcast. But live listeners, 1.4, that's just crazy. You guys are nuts, but I appreciate how crazy you are. So I had to get that in. Got 10 minutes left in the show. I want to talk about two Purdue-related things real quick before we go. As I mentioned, we talked about it with Daniel earlier. Once again, how great was Daniel? He's going to come back. We need to get him and Brett on the show at the same time because when you get the three of us talking about Purdue sports, it gets pretty funny. We like to have a lot of fun with each other, and we make fun of each other, but it's all in good fun. So we'll set that up in the future. And since we're talking about guests in the future, I'm heading home for Thanksgiving, and I'm heading towards the land of Dirty Randy. And if everybody knows Dirty Randy from his awesome audio and his boys, the stuff he's cut for me over the past months, well, I'm heading to Dirty Randy's neck of the woods, and this is a personal call out from the show. Brainy Bunch are backing me up on this. We need Dirty Randy on this show, and maybe I'll try to record something next week when I'm home and I can catch up with him that I can play for you guys. But it's time that we hear what Dirty Randy has to say, and I'm going to be up front with you guys. He's not a fan of a lot of the stuff we talk about on the show, and what I mean by that is he's not an overly he's not a Purdue fan at all. He's actually an IU fan, which is interesting. He likes the Colts. So I know that probably relates to a lot of people around here. He probably would consider himself a Cubs fan. I know his family is Cubs fans, so when he watches baseball, he turns to the Cubs. So there's a lot we can talk about, but he's everything NCAA basketball. He's a Big Ten basketball junkie, and I'm sure we can get a lot out of him. Plus, I'm going to make him bring his guitar, and we're going to get some music because that's where his real talent lies, as he's a fantastic musician. So, public call out, Dirty Randy and the boys. Let's get on the show. Let's do it next week. Looking forward to it. Now that I said it on air, that's got to happen because, I mean, when I had Eric the roommate on last year, the ratings spiked. My social media almost broke. People went nuts for Eric the roommate, and he's currently boarding a flight. He's boarding a flight to head to Florida. So, Eric the roommate, enjoy your week in the sun. But the rest of the Brainy Bunch, we're going to have to get everybody on. There's a lot of people behind the scenes who do a lot here that deserve some more recognition because it's not just a one-man show. There's a lot of people who give me input. There's a lot of loyal listeners who give me input every week on what they like and what they don't like. And if you're somebody out there who's listening every week and there's something that constantly bothers you about this program or something that you constantly enjoy, send it to me. I got to hear it. I want to hear it. So let's make sure that happens. Dirty Randy on the show. Let's make it happen. So two things Purdue related. We talked about basketball beating Marquette. Incredible win. Marquette could shoot from three. They were really, really good from three. But every time they went on a run, we stopped them. And in the second half, we came out and we played really, really good ball, offensively and defensively. Grady Eifert gave us quality minutes. Carson Edwards was phenomenal. Vince was quiet, but even on a quiet night for Vince, he does what, like a quiet night for Vince is a above average night for about 90% of the players in the NCAA. So I'll take a quiet night from Vince if he's going to put up those kind of numbers. Great game from him. Haas and Harms were dominant, especially Isaac Haas. He was unstoppable. Fouling guys out, making tough shots. He was a force to be reckoned with in the paint. He was going hard in the paint, no doubt about it. So Boilermakers get the win, and then I got to mention Purdue volleyball because there's people out there who don't know about this team, especially, and if you're on campus, you should be on board with this team because they're good. I mean, they're really, really good. They have a strong senior class with Evans and Coutinho leading the way. Ashley Evans, the setter. Danielle Coutinho, the outside hitter. She's going to be an all-Big Ten player, probably an All-American. She's that good. Well, last weekend, Purdue volleyball was at home, and they had two of their toughest matches of the year at home. They played number 5 Minnesota and number 10 Wisconsin. Wisconsin, number 10, was on Saturday night, and number 5 Minnesota was on Friday night. Number 10 Wisconsin, they beat them 3-0 on Saturday. And Purdue's ranked, at the time, they were ranked 22. They've jumped up since then, thanks to the win over Wisconsin. But at the time, 22 beating 10, I mean, that's a big deal. And to 3-0 them, and it really was never even close. I mean, these girls were on a roll. You had Blake Moeller, you had Azaria Stahl, Sheridan Atkinson, Danielle Coutinho, the freshman Caitlin Newton and Jenna Otek, Brooke Peters in the back row. This team is talented, and they showed it Saturday night. And then Friday night against number 5 Minnesota, they went into a fourth set, and they were leading 2-1 going into the fourth. And if you're not familiar with college volleyball, it's best of 5, and so 3 sets and you win. So they were up 2-1 going into the fourth, and that's when I had to run over and call the fourth set, and it got to be 24, so match point for Purdue. And I brought in a little audio. This is our play of the week, courtesy of BTN Student U, and you'll hear my voice here on the play-by-play. Purdue match point against number 5 Minnesota, one of the toughest opponents they've had all year, and this is how it ended.
Interesting to see who the Boilermakers go to here on the offensive attack. You have Evans, Newton, Coutinho, Peters, Stahl, and Atkinson on the floor for the Boilermakers. Here comes the serve from the Golden Gophers. It's Peters who's going to serve it. Outside to Evans. Big swing. They go to Coutinho. And the Boilermakers knock off number 5 Minnesota at home. 25-23, 21-25, 28-26, and 25-14. Boilermakers win it.
So there was my call. It sounds weird because, well, it was an interesting production we had, and it was an awesome experience. Probably the biggest call I've had. It's no doubt about so far the biggest call I've had in my young student U broadcasting career. Anytime you get a top 5 opponent and you get to call the game, it's big time. And then when you upset them on home floor in front of a sold out crowd on Friday night is really, really cool. But we also had a BTN Student U basketball game that night. So, I mean, we only have so many students who work on the crew. So they were over setting up for the basketball game. And then it was just Corey Palm. He's the head of video for Purdue Athletic Communications. He also is the representative for BTN Student U here at Purdue. He was a one-man show up there. He was running the camera as well as doing play-by-play. Well, he's also our backup voice for Purdue basketball, the PA guy, and Carson, who does the PA. If you know his voice, he does football, volleyball, basketball. He does them all. He's fantastic. Well, he was over doing volleyball because the game was at like 5:30, and then we had basketball at 7 or 8. I forget which, but either way, it was overlapping. So Carson couldn't leave volleyball, so they needed Corey, the backup PA for basketball, to run over and to start the PA for the basketball game. So I had to run over and take over for Corey and become the one-man show for the fourth set. And man, was that crazy opportunity, because normally, to give you an idea, usually, as we talked about Brett on a past episode about what kind of preparation it takes before a broadcast, usually it's a few hours of learning learning player names and notes and things of that nature. Well, I had no preparation at all. And to be honest, I was over at basketball working or getting ready to work, so I couldn't even watch the first 3 sets of the volleyball game. I was following them on Twitter. Carl Danoff, who is the athletic communications director, he's the representative for volleyball. He tweets along throughout the match. You can follow him on Twitter at Purdue Volleyball. So I was watching his updates, so I knew stats and I knew how the score was going, but I hadn't seen a bit of action from it. So I ran over, unprepared, not knowing what was going on really, except for the score of the match, and I jumped in there, and it was normally you have a headset on with a mic. Well, I had a crowd mic, which was just like, if you're watching on Twitter, like they clipped it to me on my shirt, and then I had no headphones, so I couldn't hear myself. So when it got loud, the crowd mic was picking up the crowd as well as my voice, and I had to scream just to hear myself. That's how loud it was in there. And I'm also working the camera. So it was super cool. It was super fun. It was kind of like an adrenaline thing where it was just in the moment, just calling the match. And I had a roster in one hand, and then I had the camera in the other, and I was rotating it, following the game, calling the game. And really, really awesome. So that's why the audio sounds a little funny. It's the best we could do, and it was awesome. It was one of the greater nights of my broadcasting career, no doubt about it, and really great experience. And for this volleyball team to see them upset number 5 like that in 4 really tough sets, it was really, really fun to watch and really, really cool. All right, we're just about out of time here. Fast hour. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. If you missed the interview at the top of the hour with Daniel Goldberg because of anything, you can go find that on YouTube. I'll post the interview separate, and I'll also post the entire show. So go to YouTube, check out Next Point Wins, subscribe to the podcast. You'll get all the updates every time I upload a new episode. Just hit the subscribe button. Costs you nothing. There shouldn't be any ads on any of my videos. I don't take any money from this. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to let you guys have an hour of fun sports talk every week. And we're going to take a break next week for Thanksgiving. Then we'll be back for 1 week before finals, and then that'll be it for semester number 1. It's been a great ride so far. Enjoy Thanksgiving next week. Eat plenty of food. Enjoy time with family and friends. That's what it's all about. Stay true to who you are and have a great time. Have a safe travel. If anybody who's going home or hitting flights to get home, everybody be safe. Enjoy the break. Have a fun, relaxing break. Family's everything, so keep them close. Then, now, always, this has been Next Point Wins.